Hello and welcome to Kakaaki, the African Voice on African Independent Television, AIT. I am Adora Sidney Jack. You're welcome to the show. A bit late, but you're welcome, however.
Yes, and I am Chukuyodum Onwaka. Happy Tuesday to you out there, and a happy Tuesday to you, Adora, as well.
Happy Tuesday, okay. Hopefully. As we just started. Well, Nigeria's National Assembly resumes after a break of around 3 weeks for the Easter holiday and the national conventions held by the major political parties. A lot transpired before the lawmakers went on recess, and there are still a number of issues Nigerians are expecting them to fix.
The hues, cries and intrigues that accompanied the passage of the Amendment Act are not yet over. Not a few Nigerians are dissatisfied with the Amendment Act in its current form and are hoping that the lawmakers will address the concerns, especially on the clamor for electronic transfer of election results to be made mandatory.
The amendment of contentious portions of the 1999 Constitution, especially against the backdrop of calls for fiscal federalism, state police, special seats for women, and more independence from agencies of government.
The issue of state creation will also rank high among expectations, especially in the Southeast, which still has only 5 states compared to 6 in the Southwest, South-South, Northeast and North Central, and 7 in the Northwest.
Absolutely, Chooks. Now, judicial reforms will also be high on Nigeria's expectations list, especially in the areas of financial autonomy, capacity expansion, case management, and digitalized processes.
So much to do as the clock winds down on the 10th National Assembly. How do the lawmakers go about giving Nigerians what they want and deserve? Do they need to set priorities? And if so, how?
Well, that's a key question. These are questions we'll be putting to Senator Kakaaki Nweboyi, representing Ebonyi North. Senator Kakaaki, among other things, is the chairman, Southeast Constitution Review Committee, Senate Deputy Whip, and Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on Public Accounts as well.
But before that, we will turn our attention to members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiites, who over the weekend voiced what they described as the killing of their members and called on leaders at all levels to address injustice, regardless of religious inclination.
The group made the call during a solidarity rally held in Bauchi for oppressed people in Nigeria and Iran. They also expressed dismay over the loss of innocent lives and the ongoing conflict involving Iran, the United States of America, and of course, Israel.
The leader of the group, Abdullahi Musa, alongside Zinat Zaki, wife of Shiite leader Ibrahim Zakzaki, said they are ready to sacrifice their lives in the fight against injustice, describing it as a growing global concern.
The group's leaders also sent a message to the Nigerian government over the alleged killings of its members by state actors. Now, the protest came on the heels of the closing ceremony of the 5th International Conference on Islamic Thought, themed The State of Affairs and the Way Out.
The 3-day conference attracted participants from Nigeria, Niger, Chad, and other African countries. On Kakaaki this morning, we'll take a look at the just concluded conference, the stand of the Shiite movement on the state of the nation and its position on the war in Iran.
Quite sensitive conversations there, and thoroughly will be layered along the time when we get into the discussion. Well, the death of Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei jolted followers of Ibrahim el-Zakzaki onto the streets, revealing how a decades-old ideological alliance, still shapes Shia activism here in Nigeria.
These are some of the issues up for discussion when we'll be joined by Professor Issa Michel Garu of the Building Engineering Department of the Ahmadu Bello University and member of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria.
Interesting conversation, from constitution amendment to religion. It's all packed here. But remember that you can be part of the program by sending your views and comments to all our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Africa Independent TV. I know you said we must read more of it, so we'll try. So you can stay up to date with the latest news from around the world.
Now let's join our news desk for the world news. Just stay with us.
Stay.
This is the world news on Kakaaki, the African Voice. You're welcome. There has been widespread condemnation after an image of an Israeli soldier apparently hitting a statue of Jesus with a sledgehammer in southern Lebanon went viral. Locals say the statue was on a crucifix outside a family home on the edge of Debel, one of the few villages where residents have remained during Israel's war with Hezbollah. The Israel Defense Forces said it viewed the incident with great severity and emphasizes that the soldiers' conduct is wholly inconsistent with the values expected of its troops. The head of Debel's congregation, Father Fadi Flafel, told newsmen, "We totally reject the desecration of the cross, our sacred symbol, and all religious symbols. It goes against the Declaration of Human Rights and it doesn't reflect civility." He claimed similar acts had happened before. The IDF said appropriate measures will be taken against those and that it was working with the Christian community to restore the statue to its place. Residents of southern Lebanon returned to their homes and shops but were shocked by the widespread destruction caused by 6 weeks of war between Hezbollah and Israel. In Hanoye village in Tyre province, Baboon family lost their house and a business worth $1 million of home appliances.
Mahmoud Gadboum and his wife, Ali, could be seen searching the rubble, trying to find some useful items from the shop. Her husband, Mahmoud, was crying for losing his life's capital. Next to Gadboum's house, a health center for Rizala Association that is affiliated with Armored Movement was destroyed, and ambulances and fire trucks were charred. On 16th April, a 10-day ceasefire was announced between Israel and Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militant group in Lebanon. This followed 6 weeks of violence which had intensified in March 2026 after a war broke out between Iran and Israel on 28 February. More than 2,000 people had been killed and more than 6,092 had been wounded by Israeli strikes in Lebanon since March 2nd, according to the country's health ministry. More than 1 million people have been displaced in Lebanon. Israel has issued a series of blanket warnings for residents to leave wide swathes of the country, often followed by bombardment of those areas.
A father has killed 7 of his children and an unrelated child in the U.S. city of Shreveport, Louisiana, in a mass shooting that police have called a domestic disturbance. Officers said the shooting began about 5 on Sunday. After attacking the children at a property, the suspect drove away in a stolen car as police chased and killed him.
2 adult women, including the children's mother, are in critical condition after the 2 were hurt by gunfire. A 9th child was taken to hospital after jumping from the roof of the home while escaping. The suspect was identified as Shama Elkins. The department spokesperson Chris Bordalen, in a news conference, said officials have not yet suggested a motive on the gunman's part. 3 boys and 5 girls aged between 3 to 11 were shot and killed, the coroner's office said. Local police had earlier said the children range in age from 0 to 14. Neighbors described their shock to U.S. media. Mark London, 71, told newsmen he had lived in the area for decades and that nothing like this has ever happened on this street. The attack occurred across multiple locations. The father is alleged to have first shot a woman before moving to a second location where he fired further shots at the children. According to the police, one of the victims was able to run away to a nearby home and called the authorities. Members of the family told the U.S. media that Elkins was facing a split from his wife. Elkins' brother-in-law, Troy, told the Washington Post that he lived with the attacker and that Elkins had been upset after his wife asked for a divorce. Ever since, the attacker has been acting like he's losing his mind. Crystal Brown, a cousin of one of the wounded women, that the couple were separated and had
hit by landslides. Wellington received a record 700 7 millimeter of rain in less than an hour on Monday.
Local authorities have advised residents to hunker down with rain forecast for the next day and a half. Some flights to Wellington Airport have been cancelled and several schools have shut their campuses. More than a dozen people have been evacuated, while a 60-year-old man in the Karori suburb has been reported missing. No fatalities have been reported so far. This series of flash flood comes less than a week after Cyclone Vayano swept through the North Island last weekend. Research over the years have shown that climate change has made extreme weather events, including floods, more common and more intense around the world. In the suburb of Kingston, a resident told Radio New Zealand that he had tried to escape on the back of his neighbor's motorbike after a landslide buried a nearby road in the early hours of Monday. Another resident in the suburb of Mornington said his garden had been inundated with water. You couldn't see the grass or anything. Mark Mitchell, the Minister for Emergency Management and Recovery, said they were expecting the worst of the weather later on Monday morning. The Emergency Management Office for the Wellington region has advised residents to cut or delay all non-essential travel, and for those residing in low-lying or flood-prone areas to consider relocating to their friends and families for at least the next 24 hours. The Wellington City Mission has been set up for those who need shelter.
Authorities in Pakistan's capital are preparing for the arrival of delegations from the US and Iran ahead of a second round of talks. President Donald Trump said negotiators will head to Pakistan on Monday, raising hopes of extending a fragile ceasefire set to expire by Wednesday, even as Washington and Tehran remain in a standoff over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran did not immediately confirm the talks, but its chief negotiator, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf, said in an interview aired on state television that there will be no retreat in the field of diplomacy, while acknowledging a wide gap remained between the sides. The White House said Vice President J.D. Vance, who led the first round of historic face-to-face talks last weekend, would lead the delegation to Pakistan with envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Pakistani authorities began tightening security in Islamabad. A regional official involved in the effort said mediators were finalizing preparations and U.S. advanced security teams were already on the ground. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to discuss preparations with the media. Hezbollah organized a tour on Monday for journalists to the Beirut southern suburb, revealing huge destruction to buildings during the 6-week war between Hezbollah and Israel. SSD, some buildings on Shura Street in Haret Harik, which used to host the main offices of the Hezbollah leadership, the Shura office, and the political bureau, were flattened. Posters of the late Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and the late Iranian leader Ali Khamenei have been erected on buildings and can also be seen in the rubble of destroyed apartments. More than 2,000 people had been killed and more than 6,092 had been wounded by Israeli strikes in Lebanon since March 2nd. More than 1 million people have been displaced in Lebanon. Israel has issued a series of blanket warnings for residents to leave wide swaths of the country, often followed by bombardment of those areas. Ahead of the Nigerian Local Content Conference scheduled to hold later this week in Abuja, stakeholders in the oil and gas sector have renewed calls for greater inclusion of oil-producing states in the nation's local content framework. Speaking during a media briefing, industry advocate Michael Akweche urged President Bola Tinubu to consider increasing the revenue allocation to oil-producing regions to 20%. Such move, according to Akweche, will not only address long-standing concerns around equity, but also empower indigenous communities to actively participate in the operations created by Nigeria's local content policy. He emphasized that deeper integration of oil-producing states is critical to strengthening capacity development, boosting local investment, and ensuring sustainable economic growth within host communities.
Award of oil blocks to oil and gas producing states. That's number one. Number two, 20% equity ceded to all the 50 bids that are being sent by the by the operators to the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. Number 3, the participation of the Nigerian people, 5,000 from every local government in the solid mineral industry. These are 3 demands.
The upcoming conference is expected to bring together key players to discuss strategies for maximizing the benefits of local content development across Nigeria. And that's it for the world news on Kakaaki. Up next is Kakaaki Business. Do stay with us.
Hello and welcome to Kakaaki Business. We saw re-escalation of the conflict in the Middle East. Brent crude futures surged more than 5% above $95 per barrel on Monday, reversing losses from the previous session as geopolitical tension fled again in the Middle East. The rally followed remarks from President Donald Trump that the U.S. Navy fired on and seized an Iranian flag cargo vessel in the Gulf of Oman after it ignores orders to stop while exiting Hormuz. Tehran also targeted ships and reasserted control over the Strait of Hormuz, arguing that the U.S. blockage on the Iran-linked vessels violated the ceasefire agreement, while momentum towards a lasting peace had been building late last week. Uncertainties have since resurfaced, even as Trump said U.S. negotiators will head to Pakistan on Monday for another round of talks. The prolonged conflict has triggered a historic energy supply shock, heightening inflation risk and raising concerns over a potential global economic slowdown. And gold prices fell on Monday, giving back gains from the previous week as renewed hostilities in the Strait of Hormuz drove oil prices sharply higher, intensifying inflation concerns. Spot gold was down 0.7% at $4,792 per ounce on Monday, after hitting its lowest since April 13 earlier in the session. U.S. gold futures for June delivery fell 1.4% to $4,812. The prolonged conflict has sparked historic energy supply shock, heightening inflation risk and raising the likelihood of further central bank rate increase, which weigh on gold. The precious metals remain down nearly 10% since the onset of the war. The dollar index strengthened, making greenback price bullion more expensive for holders of other currencies. Among other metals, spot silver lost 1.8% to $79 per ounce, and platinum fell 1.4% to $2,073. And investors have cooled on European defense talks as profit-taking and strengthened valuation collide with growing uncertainty over the futures of warfare. MSCI's Europe Aerospace and Defense Index dropped 9.2% in March, its biggest monthly fall in 5 years, as a previously stellar trade began to unwind. Shares in Czech arm maker CSG have dropped almost a third since the conflict began, along with its counterpart in Germany and Sweden. European defense talks have been among the market's strongest performer since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, rising more than 450%, but order intakes has been slower than expectation, with contract delayed or phased due to fiscal pressures in countries such as France and Britain, according to Morgan Stanley analysts. While investors remain broadly positive, enthusiasm has cooled and crowded bullish position has been trimmed, according to a note from Citigroup. And regulators said on Monday they are monitoring the development of Anthropic's frontier AI model Mythos, which experts say could have the capabilities to be used to destabilize banking systems. The vast capabilities of Mythos to code at a high level are giving it a potentially unprecedented ability to identify cybersecurity vulnerabilities, experts say, prompting greater scrutiny from some regulators globally. The Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority, APRA, said it will continue to assess the implication of the technological advancement to ensure the ongoing safety and resilience of the country's financial system. South Korea Financial Supervisory Service, FSS, as well, said it held a meeting with information security officials from financial firms last Monday to review metal-related risk. Away from that, Apple has not submitted data sought by India antitrust body after an investigation found the U.S. firm abused its dominant position in the iPhone app market, prompting the watchdog to fast-track a decision on penalties to a final hearing next month. An order shows the Competition Commission of India, CCI, said in an April 8 order that Apple has not submitted details of its financials and its views on the investigation since October 2024. Apple which denies any wrongdoing in the case, has said it fears it could be fined up to $38 billion if the watchdog uses its global turnover to calculate penalties in the case. Apple has been afforded adequate opportunities to file its objection or suggestion to the investigation report and has also not submitted requisite financial information, according to the CCI order. The Indian case is among the many Apple's faces around the globe for alleged antitrust breaches. And back home in Nigeria exported 55.39 million barrels of crude oil in January to February 2026, even as the Dangote refinery faced acute feedstock shortages. This is according to latest data by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Production stood at 81.94 million barrels, leaving 26.55 million barrels for local refining. Despite being Africa's top producer, most crude was exported, while 650,000 barrels per day Dangote plant struggled, receiving far below its 19.77 million barrel monthly requirement. The shortfall, partly due to previously front-sold crude, forced refinery to import at higher costs, contributing to fuel price increase, while supply from NNPC has recently improved. It remained below required levels, prompting calls for prioritizing domestic refining. Industry stakeholders warned that sustained undersupply to local refinery could undermine profitability and energy security, urging stricter enforcement of domestic supply obligations under the Petroleum Industry Act to boost refining capacity and stabilize fuel prices. The federal government, through the Nigerian Electricity Management Service Agency, NEMSA, has warned of a growing number of fire incidents linked to improperly installed rooftop solar photovoltaic systems across the nation, blaming poor workmanship, substandard materials, and weak compliance with safety standards. The concern comes as more households and businesses adopt solar power to cope with persistent electricity shortages. Invoking provision of the Electricity Act 2023, NEMSA has issued comprehensive guidelines requiring installation to be handled strictly by certified contractors with valid competency certificates. It also mandated proper load assessment, structurally soundproof, and the use of quality components to minimize risk. The agency urged regulator maintenance, including cleaning panels and inspecting system components, warning the strict adherence to guidelines is critical to preventing fire hazard, ensuring system efficiency, and meeting regulatory standards. And lastly, as financial fraud becomes more sophisticated in Nigeria's rapidly expanding digital economy, regulators are stepping up efforts to protect consumers and secure transactions. The Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria Communication Commission are now deepening regulatory coordination to tackle rising cases of electronic fraud and strengthen trust in digital financial service. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria says the surge in digital transactions has made closer collaboration between the regulators unavoidable. According to him, aligning the financial and telecommunication sector will not only make transactions safer, but also ensure that Nigerians can send and receive money without fear or loss or disruption.
For our regulated entities, financial institutions, payment service providers, mobile network operators, and other stakeholders, this MOU sends a clear signal. Regulatory collaboration will be predictable, coordinated, and anchored on the public interest.
A special vehicle purpose was signed to also be able to extend the collaborative role in driving and deepening digital financial services delivery in Nigeria. And in 1 year past, we have been working on this, strengthening and renewing the memorandum of understanding.
For telecom users whose phone numbers now double as bank access points, the risks are even more. The Executive Vice Chairman of Nigerian Communication Commission, Dr. Aminu Maida, says a new system is being introduced to help tackle fraud at its root. The Telecom Identity Risk Management System, Maida says, will allow banks and financial platforms to confirm in real time whether a phone number has been swapped, recycled, or flagged for suspicious activities.
This means that the financial institutions will be able to determine when a line is active, when it has been swapped, when it has been disconnected due to inactivity and reassigned to a new subscriber, and when it has been flagged for suspicious or fraudulent activity within the communication sector and other sectors of the economy. This ensures that our financial services industry is better equipped with timely and relevant information to effectively combat electronic fraud.
For a market trader, this could mean fewer cases of sudden account takeover. For salary earners, it could mean faster resolution when transaction fails. For millions of Nigerians who depend on digital payment every day, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigerian Communication Commission says this joint effort is about one thing: making the system safer, more reliable, and worthy of public trust. Landry Babalola, AIT News, Abuja. And that's it on Kakaaki Business. Good morning.
The issues as they break, the multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
And our governments seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go. Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection. I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe we go for that reason in our politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Well, thank you for staying with us and welcome back to the program. And just as we started earlier, when we started the conversation in our introduction, we told you that the National Assembly resumes plenary today, and a lot more will be on their plate as the Constitutional Amendment review continues and Nigerians want more of the answers rather than the rhetorics around the political state. And one of the key conversations, of course, is the window for electronic, transfers and obvious transparency for the electoral process. As far as we can say, 2027 is, coming on in view. With the political cycle, chokes already looming around, I think that this is a call that Nigerians can't wait, to activate, especially with the plenary resuming and the Nigerian women as well, who are calling for the special seats for women. This is a time whether we see whether those bills will be passed and come to fruition. All right, we'll take a special report on these many demands and more. Stay with us.
For over 2 decades, successive assemblies have tried to patch a document many critics dismiss as a military-era relic. The demand for a people's constitution has been a constant refrain since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999. Critics argue that the current document lacks the soul of the people, born of a military decree rather than a national consensus. While previous assemblies have managed minor tweaks, many Nigerians believe the big issue remains untouched. On Tuesday, the 10th National Assembly picks up the baton, but the atmosphere is different. Pressure is mounting as the next general elections creeps onto the horizon. Lawmakers are increasingly splitting their focus between legislative duty and political survival. The big question is whether the parliament, of whose members are in the campaign mode, can tackle the complex task of nation building.
The INEC has forced itself into administrating this country by bringing forth a party primary election that will take place 9 months to the general election. This is a third world country, for goodness sake. Once you have primary election, after the primary election, total governance abandonment. People abandon everything. This National Assembly will become like a grave. Now you have a total of 9 months.
Wow, a lot of time.
a lot of times. Who will stay in this National Assembly? To do what?
Top of the list is the push for state creation, specifically from the southeast. Stakeholders there argue that being the only zone with 5 states is a structural injustice that hurts their representation and share of national resources. For them, a 6th state isn't just politics, but is about equity.
We from the southeast, we're not asking for additional states. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking for equality of a state. Other zones in the country have 60 states, Northwest have 7. We're saying, give us the 6th state.
There are structural fault line headlined by fiscal federalism and state police aimed at improving governance, guarantee fiscal autonomy, and strengthening grassroots security. Another major sticking point is justice reforms and women's special seat bill. These include the proposal to separate the office of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice to insulate the law from politics and provision of extra parliamentary representation for women.
I think actually those bills are still coming up. They are not actually, they are still being put together too. And this time actually we are getting to talk to our men across board right from the House of Representatives to the Senate. And to ensure that when it does come up, we can have legislate some quota for women, as is done in some other countries like Rwanda and Senegal. They've done it successfully.
But the road to reform is paved with hurdles. Any amendment requires a 2/3 majority in the National Assembly, and most difficult of all is the approval of at least 24 state houses of assembly. It is a game of high stakes, consensus in a deeply divided political landscape. Now, as the both chambers of the National Assembly gets filled again for legislative activities, expectations are clear. The members of the public, the civil society organizations are urging lawmakers to prioritize legacy over politics. Oyeda Orum, AIT News, Abuja.
All right, welcome back from that report there by our colleague Oyedia. And the National Assembly is running against time to pass a lot of acts, bills in front of them, a lot of concerns. Will they be able to do it? That's talking about the 10th Assembly. Do you think they have that political will after coming back from their 3 weeks break?
Chooks. How many times I called you? 3 times.
3 times.
You know why? Because, when questions like this are asked to me, I kind of find it amusing, because this is the same National Assembly that passed the budget in 4 hours. A loan demand in 4 hours. And so the question is, why is it taking so much time to look at the bills that really, really matter? Looking in between the lines at the political undertone that these bills' passage will offer. Secondly, the fact that it is a Nigerian's demand. It's not even about one person's demand. It's not about a community alone. It's about the entire nation. And for the purpose of democracy, Chooks, I believe that beyond the political rhetorics, just like Orum said earlier, I think beyond the political rhetorics is the timeliness, of the passage of those bills, and to a large extent, the political statesmanship of those people in the National Assembly. We do hope that the Easter has given a lot more clarity. A bit of rest, and, the politicking of the conventions that have happened. I know they're all preparing for their primaries, ahead of election. But this is the first litmus test for people to see that they are really serious. For those who would really want to mobilize consciousness to come back to the National Assembly, Nigerians are asking them to pass this bill.
Well, and we hope they'll be able to do that, considering, as you mentioned, the elections are around the corner. A lot of politicking will be the focus. Probably less of the governance. Hopefully that doesn't happen, though, but it looks like there's a tendency, for that to happen. A lot of them will be thinking of how they'll come back, to win their seats and on all of that. But Nigerian women as well, being in the faces of the National Assembly, 10th National Assembly, will be also important for their own bill, for their own rights, the seats for them. Last week, we invited, 2 ladies here on the show on Friday. We talked about these issues, and they were, we're positive about it. They're really positive about it, and I'm sure the National Assembly will hopefully do the right thing. I'm sure they will.
Well, I do not know whether the call is to do the right thing because they were elected to do the right thing. You know, I think that's the foremost conversation. I do believe that it is to have the political will. I do believe that behind all of this rhetoric, Chooks, is the political will. Countries just like Ghana, countries like Senegal, countries like, you know, even Gambia and, you know, countries like South Africa, when you look at the legislature, those are the fulcrum of the community development, sustainable transformation in those countries. And you cannot remove the parliament from Nigeria's conversation when it comes to good governance, which you mentioned, because politics, good governance, leadership, democracy are all tied in one. Just is a potpourri. So for you to be able to activate all of that chain of, you know, command, you need to be able to look at what people are asking. And what are people asking? Look at the big question. I mean, are these members, you know, ready enough to look at nation building, which requires, you know, activating those constitutional amendments for the benefit of the people. The state creation may be a bit of a political demand. However, it is still for people to feel that they are no longer minorities and that they are majority enough to demand for a state of action. Secondly is the special seats bill. The special seats bill's passage has been moved 4 times. And Nigerian women are saying, you know what, if we're ever going to see the light of this bill in time for women to emerge at the primaries, this is the time to pass the bill. Because if we lose the opportunity that this window offers, it means that we're looking towards 2031. And that means that you may even find the possibility of seeing less women emerge at the primary level. Looking at the conventions that have happened so far, I mean, Chooks, you watch what happened in the 80s, you watch what happened in the 80s.
I think in Ogun State, we mentioned on the show when we were together the last time, how the governor wants a consensus candidate for Ogun State, leaving out Iyabo Obasanjo, you know, for the governorship race. So that's the
dilemma we're looking at, absolutely. And the question is, how many of the parties are even showing up with women aspirants for presidential election? Let's just even say for the cosmetic sake of, you know, of what that signifies for women in terms of motivation. So we are saying that this bill is not a bill given to women for women to just come and make up the numbers. We're looking at capacity, and I think that's what's important. And then the electoral reform, you know, transparency in the process. And I think these 2 bills are the ones Nigerians will be watching out for.
Yes, there's still a whole lot of conversation to come on the show this morning. Just stay with us. But first, we'll go for our social intervention right now.
To Get Fit in 60 Seconds with Dolly Phillips. Now, everyone has 60 seconds in every day to spare. So if you're ready, let's go! Working those hamstrings, you should feel it right there. That's right. Awesome. Well done. That was awesome. Well done! I hope you had a great workout. Anyway, what I need you to do is to follow us on Instagram at Alpha Fitness Studios and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Alpha Fitness Studios, for free workout videos, free dance videos, sales and promos, and make sure you join us at the gym, Alpha Fitness Studios in Lekki Phase 1 next time you're in Lagos. So until the next time, bye-bye!
Hello, great people of Nigeria. Welcome to the Leadership Clinic. Today I'll be speaking to you on managing your emotions. What you do under pressure defines whether you are a leader or you're just someone with a title. There are several people who have great titles. They are occupying public positions of trust, but they lack emotional control. They lack the ability to be able to control their emotions. Once they are angry, everybody around them would literally know. I mean, they can even fight, they can quarrel, they can do all manner of things in anger. But the ability to be able to control emotions is one of the biggest wins for leaders. You cannot lead others if you cannot lead your emotions. In fact, a leader who loses their temper at every point in time might not be able to get to a point where they will be able to influence people in a sustainable way. So a leader who panics in crisis creates more chaos. Leaders who are controlled by their feelings, not necessarily leading, they're actually reacting. I've always talked about the concept of reactions when it comes from high-level leadership, when things are not going well, there are challenges going on within our environment. You know, most importantly, a lot of people do not have the capacity to actually make things flow positively, even in that regard. Your ability to be able to ensure that at every point in time, you give positive interpretation with the things happening around you. You are able to give them some positive interpretation. That keeps you calm, that keeps you focused, and that keeps you going. One of the greatest advantage of leadership is stability. Your ability to be stable at all times, whether things are working or things are not working. Your ability to be able to take decisions on the basis of long-term benefits of the organization or of the people, despite of the pressure, is what keeps you as a leader that is outstanding, as a leader that is making a difference, and as a leader who has something to offer. So my recommendation to you will be that at every point in time that you want to explode, you might want to just pause. Second, you might want to give your feeling a positive name. And then you must ask yourself, if this thing goes out of hand, what is the long-term implication of these things around me and around what I do? And so, in some certain instances, walking out of the environment might be your best option, which means giving your feeling some particular outflow or outlet, so that at the end of the day, the responses that come from you must be something that is building, must be something that is inspiring, must be something that is correcting, must be something that is building the type of environment that you really want. A peaceful environment to be able to work and work effectively. Great people of Nigeria, you must remember, if a man doesn't have a purpose waking up, sleeping becomes interesting.
Have you ever wondered why some children directly or indirectly resent their parents? Are you that daddy or mommy who sneaks into the bathroom, into the backyard, into the car to pick certain calls just because you do not want your spouse or your child to eavesdrop on your conversation? Have you picked up certain calls or made certain calls and you kept addressing the person over the phone as my baby, my sweetheart, I love you. That stupid man or that silly man or that silly woman is not around, so we can talk. Therefore, not realizing or caring that your children are listening in. You see, if two people are in a committed relationship, they owe it to one another to be honest. If they cannot stay committed, they need to extricate themselves from the relationship before pursuing other relationships. Now, the consequences of acting otherwise are tremendous, especially when children are involved. When a man is unfaithful to his wife or vice versa, he or she is being unfaithful to his children as well. How will the children ever trust again? What kinds of relationships will they have? Will they bring unfaithfulness into their own relationships when they grow up? Because that's their experience in their own family. And that's what they expect because that's what they've been used to. When children learn that the most important people in their world are untrustworthy, their ability to trust others can be seriously impaired. They may be overly suspicious, emotionally distant, or even refrain from committing to a relationship just because they can't trust the other person will act honorably and be there for them. Wanting to avoid being hurt in the same way they witnessed a parent being hurt, so they may do whatever it takes to protect themselves from, being emotionally vulnerable. Ensure to serve as healthy role models to your children at all times, because family is key. Honestly, that's my 2 kobo.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything. everything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
Ask him where is the law. National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of
for the former president, yes, what I know is that he has not turned his membership card. He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
And it's another time for a newspaper review on Kakaaki, the African Voice. And we'll not be doing this alone. We have Alhaji Majid Dahiru joining us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And we have Dr. Austin Maho. Good morning.
Nice to see you again.
Nice
Looks
to
like you're very comfortable on the show today. All right, we like that. We like that.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
All right, so let's start in earnest. Our first paper this morning, 4 reviews a Nigerian pilot, and it says leading in bold red, again, terrorist on rampage, and that's on page 8 of the Nigerian pilot. You find that the riders say renew attacks in 3 states, leaving 16 persons dead, many others injured. Attacks took place in Plateau, Kwara, Benue communities, and the other riders are still in that sorry state.
All right, now to the Daily Sun. We have bloodbath in Plateau, Benue, Kwara states. Soldiers, others killed, injured in fresh attacks. Women protest in Riyom community, pages 4 and 5. So that's a lengthy read from the Daily Sun.
Now we also see Vanguard running with that story on insecurity. It says many terrorists, 3 soldiers killed in Kwara gun battle. Terrorists evacuate dead colleagues in military's armored vehicle. That's a rider. 11 killed, scores injured in Plateau Benue attacks. We were beaten with cutlasses, rescued Benue Jam candidate recounts. Odell.
All right, now to the blueprint. Make Nigeria safe at all costs. CDS charges troops. Soldiers repel attack on Kwara military base, lose 3. That's it for the blueprint.
And New Telegraph takes us straight, still on the lead, this time talking about ransom. Says terrorists place 6 billion naira ransom on victims abducted in Kaduna, Borno, 1 billion naira on Ariko Easter Day worshippers, 3 soldiers, others killed in Kwara attacks, 6 dead, several injured in fresh Plateau attacks. And some of the riders say ISWAP allegedly blocks Borno Road, abducts 30 passengers.
Now to the daybreak, we have bandits put 1 billion naira price tag on Kaduna hostages. Victims were abducted on Easter Sunday in Ariko community in Kachia local government area of Kaduna. Community leaders describe demand as outrageous, call on government for help. Page 2 of the daybreak.
And then we have the Daily Monitor talking about bandits as well. It says, go after bandits, other criminals until they are eliminated. CDS others troops, commends troops for their resilience, courage, sacrifice. And you also want to see Baba Ahmed Tinubu disconnected from Nigeria's hardship. Some of the lead on the Daily Monitor.
Now to Al Jazeera, Nigeria. insecurity. CDS visits Northwest, orders offensive to crush bandits, tells troops Nigeria must be made safe. And probably one of the response to these issues we're facing with Tinubu approves new police academy campus, 15 billion naira takeoff. That's it for Al Jazeera, Nigeria. And
Daily Access is also running with that, Chooks. Interesting. It says Tinubu expands police academy, approves 15 billion naira takeoff grant. Ogun campus to drive nationwide training reform. Gedem heads restructured 16-member council.
Now to this, Nigeria. Retired police officers lay siege to villa over pensions, demand urgent presidential assent to police exit bill, decry contributory scheme as unjust, discriminatory. Page 2 of this, Nigeria.
And then we also see the leadership this morning leading with APC unveils 2027 election timetable, fixes presidential governor forms at 100 million and 50 million consecutively. Page 4 will give you all the other details.
Now to the Daily Global, we have forensic probe clears Amopiton in partisan X account post, says INEC.
And talking about INEC, Daily Trust takes the lead with INEC clears chair, Amopiton must go, protests swell.
And now to the Guardian newspaper, we have 2027 elections. Politics overshadows governance as NAS observes 93-day recess in 2026. That's on page 6. And a bit of update from the ADC. Party leaders intensify contingency moves as ADC denies PRP talks. Page 6 as well.
And still on that page, you see NBC's directive to broadcasters erode press freedom, independence, says NUJ. But the Authority newspaper takes Bielsa's development emotional for me. Osibajo hails Governor Diri on inauguration of projects 53 years after, and that's the riding question. You also want to look above that. 2027 ADC debunks talks with PRP amidst INEC, the listing impasse, and that's on page 10.
All right, now to the Observer Times, we have CBN firmly on track. Cardozo tells IMF, World Bank, bank recapitalization proves local ownership, global trust. Page 1 of the Observer's Times.
The Whistler looks at over 500,000 fresh investors acquired bank shares during recapitalization, SEC, and that's on page 9. Equities hit historic 140 trillion naira investor confidence soars, and CBN pushes banks to unlock $1 billion monthly diaspora inflows, and that's what you find there on page 9. Frustration as UTME candidates wait hours to check result. 135 visually impaired candidates write UTME in Kano.
All right, now moving on to the Business NG, we have FG resolves USSD debt dispute, introduces new billing model, and we also have Supreme Court adjourns Kano Emirate disputes to April 19, 2027 after initial hearing on page 2 of the Business NG.
All right, I think that's what brings us to our talking point this morning. Let's look at the lead stories, and most of the papers are running with this story from the Nigerian pilot. We also saw Daily Sun, and we also saw Vanguard, amongst other papers, run with this, and it is the bloodbath that happened. Again, terrorists on rampage, renew attacks in 3 states, leaving 16 persons dead, many others injured. Large Majid.
What exactly are you expecting me to say this? No, honestly, I wasn't really. I thought you were going to direct that question to Dr. Maho because I don't know what else is left to be said about this matter that we've not said here. So I don't know what to say again. Honestly, I'm running out of ideas. I'm tired of repeating myself because I don't know. I don't know what to say really. But the only thing I will just point out this morning again, just to rub it in a little bit, is that I think I like the way Dr. Maho's paper captured it when it says 1 billion demanded as ransom for Kaduna abductees. Now, one of the latest governors from northern Nigeria to actually explore the option of dialogue with bandits is Governor Obasani of Kaduna State. And again on this program, we called him out to say, look, while I commend Obasani for his excellent diversity management of Kaduna, the improved atmosphere of friendliness, of togetherness, of inclusivity, equity, fairness, and justice across board, It's been excellent. I've written about it severally. He's trying to remember the old spirit of the Kaduna we used to know, that was home for all. But in trying to sit down and negotiate with bandits, it's a misadventure. Now put a blight on this excellent track record. He's recorded in less than 2 years. Now what we have seen is that each time there are attempts or news comes out of Kaduna to defend that people have been adopted, you see an effort on the part of the state government to kind of obfuscate it, because it's an embarrassment to the governor, who confidently told the whole world that this was the best solution to banditry in the state. Now, the bandits have now demanded 1 billion naira for victims of abductees, victims of abduction in Mbasani's Kaduna state. Again, this clearly shows that you cannot dialogue with bandits or terrorists. They will simply take advantage of that time lag to regroup, rearm, and relaunch more fierce attacks. I hope and pray, for the sake of all of us, that the failure of non-kinetic approach in Kaduna, as we are seeing now, will get the leadership of this country and jolt them to reality once and for all, to the fact that we have a war and now we must fight it. And in fighting this war, your hand must be on the trigger. Even if you want to discuss, your hand must be on the trigger while discussing. And so, that for me is simply the highlight of today's newspaper review. The fact that Kaduna, the latest state, I mean, this was the state where El-Rufai first tried this method sometime in 2016. And then he came back and told that I regret doing it. And that the only dependent bandit in the world is one that is dead. And even asked the then federal government under President Muhammadu Buhari to carry out indiscriminate air bombardment of bandit camps, even if it will record collateral damages of, innocent or unarmed people in the process. He was that enraged that these people are not who you can discuss with. They have a different agenda. They have a different kind of thinking. So they're only playing on your intelligence. And for so long they've been playing on our intelligence, and our leaders have been following. So I want to use this opportunity to now call on northern governors generally to emulate, to adopt the fierce approach to insecurity in the north that we've seen in Zamfara under the leadership of Governor Daud Alawa, in Borno under Governor Umara Babagana Zulum, in Kogi under Usman Ododo. These governors don't discuss with terrorists. These governors don't negotiate. Their position is bring the war to these people and we are ready to fund it. If you recall, when the market was bombed in Yobe, look at the comments that came out of the governor of Borno State. One would have expected them to criticize the army, but they looked at the fact that that market was terrorist infested, so let it go. That shows you the level of seriousness on the part of the leaders of these states. So we are saying we did that level of seriousness across board now. It is clear. You can't discuss with bandits. Our president went to Plateau and said it will happen again. It has happened in Plateau again. So I said, what else am I supposed to say? I have nothing else to say on this matter, truly. Yeah, I'm tired.
Yes, we've emboldened these terrorists so much that they have the guts to ask or demand 1 billion naira from communities who are just living their lives, probably even feeding day to day. It's just, it's just preposterous.
Yeah, hands to mouth. It is, from what Mujida said, is obvious. We are empowering terrorists in our country by omission or commission. And government policies, especially this idea of non-kinetic, when you hear people now talking about prodigal brothers or diseased limbs that we have to live with, when you have a diseased limb,
you chop it off.
You chop it off. You don't live with it. And trying to compare terrorists with the prodigal son is false equivalent from all indication. So where this idea came about that somehow people feel that terrorists can repent or you can negotiate with terrorists, I still don't know. And haven't tried this idea, this philosophy, ideology, over and over again and it's not working, is it not about time that we begin to sing a different tune? That we need to take this war directly to the terrorists? That the military ought to be properly funded to be able to, address this problem that is an existential threat to the Nigerian Federation? Because if we take it back, at times we blame the military, we say they are not doing enough. You take it back to a headline in the Daily Trust yesterday. From budgetary allocation, you find out that only about, consistently, in the last 3 years, only about 7% of the military's budget was released to the Nigerian military for armed procurement, maintenance of aircraft and all that. And at times we expect a lot of magic from them, but how well do you expect them to perform when they don't even have the budget to be able to procure the equipment they need to take this war to the terrorists? So it's a whole lot of problem. And like I always say, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, because we've said all this over and over and over again, when we come back next week, upper week, next month, we'll still be talking about this issue. Because the attack that took place in the yesterday and 2 days ago in Plateau, in Benue, and Kwara will not be the last, except as a country we begin to change our approach to these terrorist attacks. Or else we are all sitting ducks waiting for the terrorists to inch closer and closer until, God forbid, they take over a sizable, chunk of our national space.
Now, in other papers as well, still the New Telegraph Daybreak, terrorists place 6 billion naira ransom on victims abducted in Kaduna, Borno. Now, is there also a problem that we're just too focused on the politics of the day? Politics of 2027. There's no proper groundwork. We've even heard from the Senate presidents that these issues, are to embarrass the government. The bombings that happened, recently, something that's
by opposition.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, the picture right now.
Even the government itself, what else are they going to say? The government itself, from everything that is happening, the government is seriously indicted. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is more focused on the politics of 2027. You saw what led with Leadership newspaper, how to collect the presidential form in the APC is 100 million, governorship form is 50 million. That's all they are concerned about. It's preparation for the next election, not preparation for how to deliver on the promises you made in the current dispensation, the current mandate that has been given to you by the people. You are not working towards fulfilling that mandate. You are not talking about a very poor community, Ako community in Kachia local government of Kaduna State. On Easter Sunday, people were just a little over about okay, and now are asking for a ransom of 1 billion to come and so that they can release the victim of their kidnapping. Certain things I never thought can happen in Nigeria is happening. So at times you don't even know how to begin to talk about it. Then you relate it again to what happened, a news story that broke out from Borno State, same yesterday. Boko Haram said, listen carefully, that they have in their possession, as if they are animals, 416 Nigerians under captivity of Boko Haram. And they are demanding for 5 billion from the federal government for their release. No, it sounds ridiculous, but it's the reality. Sure. And each time we are mentioning this figure, 416 Nigerians under Boko Haram captivity. They are human beings. They are children. They are women. They are members of a family. But if actually we have a government that really cares about the life of an average Nigerian. Why is it that nobody is talking about it? And from that report from Borno, these people have been in Boko Haram captivity, not for 1 month, not for 2 months, not for 6 months. It's more like a collection of people that they've kidnapped over time, and these people are in their custody. They are now saying, well, we are now ready to release these people. Government should pay us 5 billion naira for their release. That's the situation we find ourselves in the country. So in the international space, when things like this are happening in Nigeria as a country, who is going to take us serious? And we hear about travel advisory, like was released recently by the US government, evacuating all their non-essential staff from their embassy in Abuja, and we are all like, why is this happening? But as a Nigerian, do I feel safe in my country with all this that is happening? Certainly I don't. Okay, should the government do more to address this problem? Certainly it is. But is the government doing anything about it? None that I can see.
At all? Or are they in process?
When you make a budget to the military that is confronting insurgency and you release 7% of that budget, then what do you want me to say? What are you doing?
All right, let's look at this. I mean, talking about the police as well, it's also here in the lead chooks, and Daily Asset looks at, so I'm going to marry the two lead from Daily Asset and This Nigeria. So on one of the leads, Daily Asset says, Tinubu expands police academy, approves 15 billion naira takeoff grant. And then This Nigeria says, retired police officers lay siege to Villa over pensions, demand urgent presidential assent to police exit bill, decry contributors scheme as unjust, discriminatory. Maybe I'll come to your large first. So one of the papers is saying we're expanding, we are bringing in police academy, and the other one, pensioners who had worked before are saying, well, we have not received our due.
The contrast.
Yeah, so the contrast between the two. So you're asking for more to be done, and those who we did for before say we didn't get what was done before.
I remember when the president appointed Malam Nuhu Ribadu, the police officer, as the NSA. At the time, the late Solomon Arase was the chairman of the Police Service Commission, and of course, the later brought in Betuku as the IGP of the police. So I said, for me, this was a golden opportunity for the Nigerian police force, because I'm one of your own as the NSA, and having an experienced and a competent retired IGP of police like Solomon Arase, as chairman of the Police Service Commission, and an intellectual police officer like Betuku then as IGP, that I think the priority now should be a comprehensive police reform, which will take care of some of the challenges in the Nigerian police force, including their in-service welfare and out-of-service concerns like pension and gratuity. Unfortunately, it's been almost 3 years now. We've not seen that impact of having the influence of a new policing agenda on national security direction. And it's unfortunate. I don't know when the police will ever have this opportunity again. We all know that part of the reasons we are facing the challenge we are facing today was the collapse of the policing system in Nigeria, which now weakened law enforcement. And so people began to take laws into their hands, and suddenly we now start having warlords all over the country. And so one of the ways to fundamentally plug the loophole in our security would have been to fix the Nigerian police force. Why tackling insurgency and banditry?
Absolutely.
But begin to restore normalcy, at least in areas where you still have normal security situations. Now, if police officers that have served are now protesting in Abuja over pensions, what do you expect those that are in service to be doing now, other than resorting to self-help, by weaponizing the weapons you're giving to them to protect you and to serve the public for self-service? How are you expecting them to put in their best when they know that after 35 years in service, they're going to come and face the same situation they've been facing since time immemorial? Now, on the issue of opening a new police college, what is the state of the old police colleges? I remember sometime in 2001, I visited a police college, a Kenya police college specifically in Lagos, and I saw cadets walking about the compound with buckets of water. They went to fetch water for themselves. And I also recall then that when you supply materials for cadets use, the cadets have to actually buy it or bribe to get allocation of some of those materials. Many years later, I thought things have changed on channels, TV, carried out a comprehensive investigative report and showed that the situation has actually depreciated further between 2001 and sometime around the time they did the documentary. And as we speak, nothing has really changed much in our police training institutions. So rather than opening new ones and expanding, why not improve on the ones you have already? Bring them up to standard, to at least African standard. We can bring them to global standard.
Absolutely.
African standard. And invest in the welfare of the existing cadets, trainees, and as well as officers and men of the Nigerian police force. I think this is another misplacement of priorities. What you need is not an expansion. It's a consolidation of what you already have and make sure you make the best out of them. You cannot be doing half measures all the time. Sometimes I suspect, too, that some of these things have to do with, political patronage in Nigeria does not have boundaries.
I see.
It does not.
I see.
So creating a new institution could be somebody's idea just to be seen to have influenced a federal project to my community, to my village.
I see.
It shouldn't be so. When this new IGP came on board again, I said, well, again, we're having an opportunity for somebody who's highly decorated to become the IG, that he should immediately, without delay, prioritize comprehensive police reforms. And the police poverty we are seeing, there's a way out of it. Yeah, I get an interview on Channels TV, and I want to repeat what I said there here now, because we like to do solutions. But the time will come, we'll stop talking on, because the ones we've given, they've not been able to accept anyone. So there's an opportunity for the police force to generate enough revenue now and fix the internal problems. How do I mean? The current security challenges in Nigeria, unfortunate as it is, provides an opportunity for the police force to be relevant enough to also make money. How do I mean true? Rather than banning VIP police deployment, monetize it officially. Okay. So for instance, if you're a rich man in Nigeria, but your problem is security, no problem, and you want deployment of VIP police officers to protect you specifically, a premium should be placed on every police officer at a rate that can take care of 3 other equivalent police officers for the public service.
I see.
Yes. And there are many Nigerians that can afford it, but the problem is just security. They have the money. So, for instance, just to break it down, if a police officer is going to earn 500,000 naira per month as a regular police officer, even though I know they don't earn anything close to that, and somebody wants a particular police deployed to him or her dedicatedly all year round, such person should pay the equivalent of 3 salaries and emolument of a police officer that's serving the public. So that extra change can be used to fund policing activities and some set aside to also fund the pension of police officers when they retire. There's an opportunity here. Because insecurity has created this opportunity, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
But police can leverage on this opportunity to generate massive revenue, but officially done, not as you go and bribe somebody in the office and they deploy to you, no. Fix a premium, a very high premium. People can afford it. All they want is police protection. But that premium will now be used to fund the police force and take care of things like the pension and gratuity for people that have served over time. So I think there's an opportunity here for the new IGP to explore.
All right, now,
yes, certainly, of course.
Okay.
You want to say something?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to what he has said.
Okay.
There's a big, I have equally believed in that. If at best, the Nigerian police force can set up a special squad that provides security
for the purpose of internally generated revenue.
Yes, to generate revenue out of it. And added to that, the story on the police, setting up the police academy, pay attention that the federal government immediately released 15 billion for the takeoff of that institute, whereas retired police officers are crying over
and protesting.
Yes, are protesting over non-payment of or partial payment of pension and gratuity.
Okay. A little bit from the leadership now, just to take 2 political stories there. From the leadership newspaper, APC unveils 2027 election. Timetable fixes presidential governor forms at 100 million, 50 million naira respectively. And then on the PDP side, Wike Turaki camps trade fresh barbs. The APC is moving on. The PDP still looks like it's stagnated.
No, to me, the PDP is moving on. At least they've taken over the secretariat. The faction, you can say PDP is factionalized, but we know the faction that is the dominant faction, which is the Wiki-led faction of the party. But what I just hope is that they're able to put their act together, and let's have a credible opposition, either from the Labour Party or from the PDP or from the ADC. We need to have an alternative that democracy is all about making a choice. When you don't have the opportunity to make a choice from different choices presented before you, then it's no longer a democracy. So my advocacy has always been, let's have a strong opposition that can give us an alternative so that the people can choose from.
All right. Again, I mean, making the cost at that price, doesn't it also show how expensive, our elections are? And where does that also leave young people who also want to aspire? Because this is critical.
And women.
And women, of course. Absolutely.
No, it doesn't leave them anywhere. Those who have the money have daughters and have young boys as children too. So you've seen the recent trend where we've seen ministers to them becoming local government chairmen in their states. We've seen senators or some governors, their children are becoming House of Rep members after they are leaving office. So those who have those are the members of the ruling class today. Those are the 1% or the 1% that are in charge of our resources, and those that are enjoying our resources. When they want to feed their female children or wives, or sometimes concubines too, into public office, they provide the money for that fund. If they want their young under, 25 years now? They're not young to run category. They have them in the family. If they want them to run, they bring out the money for them to run. It has not been about us. Look, those of us that are on this side, with the Talakawas, including hefty men like us, we can't afford this money to run. So what do you think affects women and young people? Affects all of us, or affects 99% of us Nigerians? We can't afford this money.
100 million for presidential
So those who can afford it, if they want
50
their
million
children
for
to run for...
governorship. Where do you even get 2 million?
So they want their children to run for Senate. They'll bring out the money and buy the form for their female children, and they will run. So this is the point I've always made. If you want inclusivity of both the female gender, the young people, everybody, sanitize the electoral process. And allow the best to emerge according to the people's wish at all times possible. You discover that if, according to the people, the best to be the Nigerian president at a particular election season happens to be an Adora, they will vote for Adora, not minding her gender. So the problem is, if I think Adora is fit to be my president or my governor, the system should allow me to vote for her without any form of subterfuge or interference. If I also think that Dr. Maho is better suited for a particular position, his ethnicity or religion or status should not matter. What should matter is my vote. So I think what we should all do as Nigerians is to fight for the position of our democracy. What we're practicing there has no definition. Scientists are still working on it, social scientists. But though, as back in 1987, they called it prebendalism. It was uniquely Nigerian.
Absolutely.
So what you see is the effect of prebendalism. The parties know that you're going to go there and help yourself. So before you get there, drop our share for us through these monies. They know now. They know you're not going to offer public service. I don't know about the APC.
And the party is a vehicle of opportunity for them.
No, they know. So before you get there, in case you get there, you forget us. Most of you don't forget us if you get there. With the delegates, with the escorts. So give us our share now before you get there.
Yes, and that's also another concern going into primaries. Even we're trying to remove these whole delegates and all, but the fact that you're going to have like a direct primaries, you're still going to be able to have to convince people, and that still in some way probably will involve money, mobilization and all of that. So it creates more problem for us as a society if we're trying to move on from one problem, but we're going into another problem going into elections.
No, our political system is heavily monetized. If you don't have funds, you can't go into politics, whether to contest, whether within the internal processes of the party. For you to emerge as a candidate, you need to infuse massive funds within the internal. All this talk about internal democracy within the party, it doesn't work. For you to even win an election, even after scaling that hurdle, you still need a lot of money. Politics in Nigeria is monetized, and like Mojid
even after elections, to court level, you have to go to tribunal.
You still have to
do you know why this is the case? It's important we highlight the root cause of this problem. Identity politics of ethnicity and religion necessarily comes with patronage system as a reward for participation. And patronage is a fancy word for corruption, for appropriation of state resources That's the fancy word. Therefore, knowing that if you come through this route, you're going to land a position that you are going to be so beneficiary. So as a delegate, I'll collect my share ahead, delegate fee. Then as other party members, you'll be feeding us, you'll be patronizing us for like 4 years ahead of primaries to show that really you have the capacity, you are very generous. For instance, recently, a very prominent Nigerian, a religious figure, an Islamic scholar specifically, Professor Isa Ali Pantami, former DG of NITDA and later Minister for Communications and Digital Economy, compiled what you call a compendium of his achievements in power in these two offices as it concerns Gombe State, his home state. And he openly declared that over 700 jobs and appointments was influenced by him to Gombe. And this is a pursuant of his intended bid for the governorship of the state. So what he's telling people that when I was in Abuja, I influenced
over 700 jobs.
700. And he listed the projects he influenced. Now the question is this. Influence peddling by a minister, influence peddling all over the world is an act of corruption. As a minister, you are not to influence nothing. There are rules that governs every government business under your area of responsibility.
Do they even know what corruption is?
They don't know. Not just them. Nigerians don't know.
Yes.
And he's getting momentum there because, he tried for us. He brought something home. That's the people that we're talking about. He had to do that, right? Now, for every job he influenced to Gombe, so many other states were
deprived.
We're deprived. That's what it means. And it's not alone in this corner. This is the normal thing in Nigeria. Now, Gombe State cannot have a population of less than 3 million as a people. But somebody is claiming to have influenced just 100 jobs. And it's a big deal. Oh, 700. So those who benefited directly or indirectly will be at the forefront now pursuing his ambition. So that the idea is when he becomes governor, he can get more. Whereas if you strengthen the system and do not influence anything, more of the 3 million people in Gombe would have benefited from a sanitized government than just 100 people. So, because the system works for all.
Mojid,
Do you get the point?
What I even see in it is that somebody confessing to what I'll call corruption and using it as leverage
to go and contest to be governor.
To be governor of a state. And people don't see anything wrong about it.
Again, it's not him. Look, he's not alone.
In this, of course not.
It's now the fact that you influence this to your home state, influence peddling, favoritism, nepotism, sectionalism, all of it, all elements of corruption. But it is legitimized in Nigeria.
Yeah, I think this is why we see when they leave offices, we see
phenomenon in Nigeria.
We see welcome parties in their states and villages.
And we attempt to arrest anybody for this now. You see protests from the section of the country where the person comes from.
Absolutely.
So Nigeria is like a buffet. We have people that are just fetching from the bowl and just eating. Nobody is actually interested in cooking and stocking, what is in the plate. So that is the spirit of Nigeria. And he published a book and proudly brought the media to show it. But we don't know that this is actually a grand-scale corruption. We do not say corruption is not just stealing. This is what he meant. Because the man actually said, so far nobody has invited me for any misappropriation of funds. We know. But the fact that you, as a minister,
you confess to
that
this.
you influenced, you skewed a ministry. Again, Pantami is not alone. As far back as 1987, a study was conducted after the collapse of the Second Republic, where an international scholar of political science said Nigeria suffers from a peculiar problem of tribalism, where appointed or elected political officials arising from identity politics have a sense of entitlement over their areas of responsibility on behalf of their own sections of the country, with them as major beneficiaries. It's a problem. Unfortunately, the political party system in Nigeria has supported and fostered, nurtured, and cemented.
And so, what I also see is the fact that when you look at this and the way that people also have the Me Too mentality, it's my turn mentality. So there's now an agency or socialization around this, where people now think that the absence of nepotism is no longer an absence of ethnic beneficiaries.
You have simply summarized the problem. That's why we need to flip it, because you know why it does not benefit anybody in reality. Again, the man claims to have influenced 700 plus, whatever. Again, Gombe is still having poverty problem as we speak. Gombe is not yet a first world state. Meaning that is not the solution to the problem. The solution is a comprehensive, nationally integrated economic strategy that links Gombe and all of the cluster states in Nigeria to an export competitive economy that can only be sustained by competence, meritocracy, inclusivity, fairness, and justice, where nobody is elevated or diminished on the basis of ethnicity or religion. With that, Gombe would have become a super rich state beyond the 700 people or projects.
All right, let's look at this forensic probe story from Daily Global. Talks about Amupitan. Says forensic probe clears Amupitan in partisan X account post, says INEC.
What were you expecting? Amupitan was accused. Evidence were provided. In order to make it seem as if he's subjecting himself to probe, a probe was instituted by the same body he heads. And after about a week, that body set up by INEC, where Amupitan is the head of the body, has now come up with the result of their probe. So it's a joke, it's a circus. And at the end of the day, he set up the probe, he controlled the processes of the probe. We don't even know the methodology that was used to carry out the probe. Those who accuse him of holding that account in X, formerly Twitter, they have given reasons. And when you look at the reason, the logic behind the reason of that trace that account to him, that it was linked to his
mail,
and to his phone number.
Yeah, and I think they asked Grok on it, Grok for X, and Grok said
to different sources, and even trace it to his OPay account and all that, where people were asked to even pay money. I'm told he's a very rich man, because a lot of people paid money into that account. So he was indicted. At this stage, to me, the denial and this rigmarole over a probe is even worse than the alleged partisanship of the distinguished professor. He would have just admitted there's nothing wrong with holding an opinion in the past and changing and say you change your views from that initial opinion you held in the past, rather than digging in and trying to exempt yourself and now creating more problem of credibility than yourself, than the initial, accusation leveled against
if he had agreed he made that comment, doesn't that give more credibility to what the ADC and the opposition are saying, that he should be taken off that seat? Because he could be thinking that.
If he had admitted, to me, it's better. Because what he has convoluted the entire system now, and at the end of the day, he has
So if he
indicted
admits, he should agree to resign.
I'm free to hold opinion at any point in time, and at the same time, I'm free to change my opinion. I can hold an opinion in this program this morning, and later in the day, I change my opinion. That could have been his argument. But as it is now, he's in an attempt. It's like telling one lie and telling 1,000 lies to cover it. Yeah, you go on telling more lies in order to exempt yourself.
Okay, well, let me just, what Dr. is trying to say in essence is this. Given different circumstances, you can take up different positions. For instance, everybody knows my position on subsidy removal, right? Yeah. Everybody knows. But I was in charge of the radio program, or the debating program on Nigeria Info. And so two children were about to debate the merit and the demerits of subsidy removal. And the person who debated on the merits of subsidy removal earned the highest score for me as a judge. So people are wondering. I said, no, it's not my opinion now.
It's based on...
When you ask my opinion on who is going to be the best president, like we said, Tinubu is better than Obi. But as an chairman, from now on, I don't have any business on who's going to be better. My own is to conduct a free and fair election. So what he's trying to say is that if indeed that remark was made, there was nothing so bad about it that to say, look, as a citizen, I was voting, I had my choice. But as INEC chairman today, fine. But why I cannot push for that matter is that he said he didn't say so, he didn't treat that, he didn't put out that treat. So except the opposition, I was able to go a notch higher to bring substantial evidence, and this has to be litigated anyway. Then we can now, because it's not his words against theirs.
Yes.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think has come with a forensic report to say he didn't do it truly.
So, what he's actually trying to say is that that X account was not his own. It was fraudulently, mischievously
impersonation
created and his name tied to it. But evidence, several, provided by the opposition, has arguably linked him to that account.
All right, let's look at what Observer Times is saying. Well, they are saying that CBN firmly on track. And that's Cardoso tells IMF, World Bank. Bank recapitalization proves local ownership's global trust. Abuja to host African Monetary Institute deepen integration. Dr. Maho.
You know, there are two things in the financial sector which will say, okay, the government is doing well. One, the recapitalization process was concluded and it was successful.
Okay.
Two, you can say, look, if you look at the Nigerian Stock Exchange today, which has grown to about, I think about, is it 4 trillion in valuation, is equally a plus for the federal government. So on those two fronts, I would say, look, you cannot separate the recapitalization process, you know, from the upswing in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, which has made a lot of people a lot of money, those who believed in it and invested in the stock exchange and in the recapitalization process by buying into many of these banks. So it has created wealth in the system for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, when you go deeper into it, the revaluation of the stock of most of these banks is as a result of exchange rate differential that has created new wealth for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it has still pauperized many Nigerians. So it's neither here nor there. But at the end of the day, we just say, okay, it has been worth it. The financial service sector, the banks, they are on solid footing to be able to provide the financial backbone for the Nigerian economy.
Okay. All right. I think this is a nice place to let things...
Fantastic place.
Yeah.
With a bit of extra time, isn't it?
Yes. And I'm sure our viewers must have enjoyed all the conversations here. So thank you, Malaji Majid Dahiro, for coming this morning.
Thank you very much.
And to Dr. Austin Maha as well. Thank you so much for joining us this
Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and to have yourselves a lovely day. And indeed, that takes us to our first talking point, but we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back shortly. Stay with us.
Politics and power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics, and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact on policies and the people.
It's about getting the system to deliver the kind of electoral outcome that people will be happy with.
People, Politics, and Power with Imoni Amarere.
Will low-performing agencies be held to account? Or will the numbers fade after the headlines?
At 1 p.m. every Monday. The issues as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
There is a serious threat to democracy.
And our government seem to be incapable of protecting.
The scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection. I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe we got federalism in our politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Welcome back to Kakaaki, the African Voice on African Independent Television, and we are moving to our first interview of the day, and it's on the Shite Conference rally on Nigeria, Iran, and we have Professor Issa Michel Garu, Building Engineering Department of the Ahmadu Bello University and member of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, joining us virtually. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Yeah, fine, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us. So, the 5th International Conference on Islamic Thought, themed The State of Affairs and the Way Out, ended over the weekend in Bauchi. Tell us about the meeting, its agenda, and outcomes for the way forward.
Okay. The meeting is an annual conference that we used to hold every year. And this is the 5th in the series. And actually, this year's own has the agenda of being state of affairs and the way forward. It was organized and conducted in Bauchi state, and it had a very large attendance from within Nigeria and outside Nigeria, like Niger and Cameroon, Chad. And it was organized by these two arms of the Islamic movement, the sisters and the academic wing. These are the two components of the Islamic movement that organized the conference.
All right, I think
it was well attended.
Okay. So, what was the? Perhaps maybe let's also ask.
At the end of it, there was a.
Okay, looks like we have some technical issues there from Professor. We hope to resolve that very soon. But Prof, if you can you hear us now, clearly? Okay. We just hope that we'll be able to get it.
All right, I think maybe we'll just take a quick break and try to resolve that, and then we'll get back to you shortly. Stay with us. Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m., live on AIT.
The issues as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy. And our governments seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigue.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe it was for that reason in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says.
But who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says.
But who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. In the hallowed chambers, the issues as they break, the multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy. And our government seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe we go for that reason in our politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Welcome back, and it's still Kakaaki, the African Voice. Apologies for that interview, being cut short there with Professor Issa on the Shai Conference rally in Nigeria. But going forward, we'll try and see how we can sort that with him. Probably, reschedule on a later date as well. Well, it's been a very interactive conversation on the show today. So much has been touched on. We still also have you know, what the 10th Assembly, what is expected of the 10th Assembly to come later on. I don't know. I have an idea of what you expect from the 10th Assembly as well.
For me, I think that, you know, just going from, you know, some of the rhetorics that were mentioned here by the newspaper reviewers, Majid and Dr. Austin Mao, who, you know, so succinctly but aptly put it, you know, in terms of what the expectations are. They talked about police reforms and making sure that, you know, the number of boots on ground, you know, are more incentivized, and also the welfare of the police, Nigerian police, is brought forward rather than just rhetorics of, you know, setting up an academy. And again, they talked about the issue of corruption and how much, you know, of, you know, literacy around what corruption really does signify in the Nigerian, you know, parlance means. And that's why a lot of people do not even understand that certain conversations, certain expressions, certain confessions, if I will use the word, actually sort of leans in to what corruption is in present time Nigeria. And then I think also, or rather I know, Chooks, is the fact that with plenary resuming, a lot of conversations will be around politicking, a lot of conversations will be around the 2027 elections, you know, and I believe so.
Yeah, and you know, the funny thing is that, you know, conversation from both reviewers has really caused a lot of conversation as well online. A lot of varying issues or varying ideas on it. And this is Alex Sanchez saying that why are ministers picked based on state of origin in the first place? That's a question. Haba. This we don't still understand politics. That's why we come here to lament. I don't think ministers are actually picked on state of origin. Yes, federal character is one, you know, that goes, but I don't think the idea of a minister coming in should be, oh, they must influence whatever happens in their state in terms of taking, you know, certain projects there. So Sanchez with a varying opinion there, but Sanchez, I don't think there's any minister who's been picked because it's from Gombe or Imo or Rivers, thereabouts. And there was someone who also responded to him as well. That's talking about Olatunde Ibrahim. It's not true that ministers are appointed based on state of origin to enable them grab as much for their state. It is to allow fair representation in the federal executives. That's the same thing, you know, I'm talking about. We also have here, okay, while you're right, the other man has a point. Avan was also directed to Olatunde. He says, politics in Nigeria is patronage and settlement. You can choose to argue with that. Well, those are some comments there, and maybe we'll review more comments from our YouTube page as we go on the show. Indeed, and then talking about what's going on to be on the show, a lot more voices will be echoing that, and that's going to be on Kakaaki Socials in a moment. Please stay with us.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Focus, Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria.
With the leader for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
Hello, everyone. Excellent morning to you. This is Kakaaki Social. I am Onoshorena. Obozege. Now let's begin from INEC, that is saying that it's exposing what it calls a sophisticated digital impersonation scheme that is involving its chairman, Professor Joash Amupiton, and they are insisting that he does not operate any account on X. In its own forensic report, I have to emphasize that it did the forensic audit itself. They released it on Monday. INEC claimed that viral screenshots and posts attributed to their boss, including the Victory is Sure response, were entirely fabricated and part of a coordinated disinformation campaign. INEC claims that the said reply even came before the post being replied to was made. The commission explained that investigators carried out extensive verification using platform recovery tools, email linkage checks, and phone number analysis. The findings confirm that there is no connection between the X account and Amupiton's verified email or phone number. That's according to INEC still. The circulated phone number, now data breach records circulated online, were also found to be unrelated and lacks any direct link to the alleged account. Now, how did this meet you? Because it's been on a 6-page report that they put out yesterday, and just in case you missed out of that, the previous one was a poster that he's referring to, where in 2023 he had declared support for the presidential candidate at the time and the election victory, where he was responding to Dio Israel, and he says victory is sure. If we could just bring that to help our viewers who may have not seen it. Let's see that right now. Dio Israel had posted at the time thanking God for the victory. And then he says, victory is sure. Professor Joash Amupiton right there. And another one that I've highlighted before on Kakaaki Social is he agreeing to a post that says that followers of Obi, the obedient, are delusional. Now, let's take some reactions from this recent report put out yesterday by INEC. Everest says, your number 2 is a complete lie. Well, they atomized the facts that they found out. It says the post victory is sure was made in 2023 and not 2026. Are you telling us that someone opened an account for an unknown Joash Amupiton in 2022 when he was nothing and used it to respond to Dio Israel in 2023 to punish Joash Amupiton in 2026? The person must have seen the future. It is important to know that the account had no name change. So Joash Amupiton was used to open that account in 2022 with his phone number and email address. Also in reaction, Chiedu says, this damage control is damaging you guys the more. Besides, it is the involved individual that should defend himself, not the organization. Allow your conscience to speak the truth, for God's sake, for once. Still on X, Jasper says, was the 2-factor email address and phone number linked to the account also fabricated? The only fabrication I see here is a statement from INEC. Let an independent forensic audit be conducted. INEC Nigeria is a political party, according to Jasper. Nelly says, but what are we even arguing in this country? People have been paying in 10 naira, 20 naira to the OPay account number, and it still brings out the name of INEC chairman Joash Amupiton. Abi, that one too. Now OPay, they impersonate him. I don't know. Then for AA, he's laughing and says, how many name changes does the account have before Josh? Your blackmail and noise will take you nowhere, responding from the other side of the table. And then this is a screenshot, because INEC had said that the post was even made, the said response victory is sure, was even made before Dio Israel made this post, saying further that it was manipulated. And then netizens were quick to do a screen recording, if we could roll it, to say that up until this moment that your report is out, that response is still there. So if you say that the Photoshop, which was the screenshot was Photoshopped, how about this video recording right here? But we'll move away from this now and go further. Netizens are complaining that INEC Nigeria verified account is now blocking them on the space of social media. So we have these Just to mention a few that you want to check INEC website or page right now on X, it says, why can't you like this? He says the author has blocked you, so he can't perform this action. Another says he has been blocked from following this account at the request of the user. I mean, this is one bad, not so good thing about X. It will tell you that this user has blocked you, unlike other accounts and platforms that you just see that you're no longer able to see them. But X tells you that you have been blocked by the user. But let's go back to next week in a video that looks like the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, was defending Amupiton, and he says, very sure, victory is sure, was not attributed to any party at the time. So anybody could say victory is sure.
People going to do the election. And they brought out a tweet where they said the chairman of INEC said victory is sure. But he didn't say victory is sure for APC. He did not say victory is sure for PDP. He just said victory is sure. And the man said that it's manipulated. Nobody wants to hear. But for me, whether manipulated or not, he said victory is sure. He was not chairman of INEC. He was just a mere lecturer. Anybody can support anybody who wishes to. But when you are on a seat, you have to think of all the entire country and all the populace. And that's what.
All right, that was last week at the NRS Building Commission in Abuja, but let's move on quickly. At the birthday celebration of the lawmaker representing Yagba Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, Leke Abejide, President Tinubu's Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, urged the ADC lawmaker to remain within the party rather than defect to the APC. What is his reason? While he was addressing him, Gbajabiamila asked him to stay in ADC and continue with his good work of scattering the party. Gbaja admitted that he liked what Abejide is doing as he's putting so much work in the ADC, and he says that, if anything, they are ready to support both Nafiu Bala as well as Abejide. Let's hear.
Honorable Abejide, I know you to be a committed party man. I know you to be a fighter. I know you to be someone who does not like to be cheated. So please, my charge to you is to stay in that same ADC. Fight them. Scatter them. Hold on to your party, ADC. Do not allow them. We like what you're doing. Continue. Don't mind the former governor said that you should come and join ADC. No. Stay in ADC. Win your re-election in ADC as you will. Bring Gombe, what's his name again? Gombe, bring him. We will support him. Bring him. Do the right thing. You are a fighter. Do the right thing. Nobody can come and take your party away from you. A party that you built up for years with your sweat and your money and everything. No.
All right, let's bring you in at this point and see how you're reacting. We'll go to Instagram, then we'll cross over to X. Manny Speaks 2009 says, just imagine what a chief of staff to the president is saying in an open space, meaning they are the ones destroying democracy and Nigeria. I wish there would be a better judgment for all of these once they leave office. Another reaction from Instagram, King_Urban says, imagine the people who want to lead Nigeria forward, and people keep saying opposition isn't trying to put their house in order. Now, Nigerians, I blame Shah. Also, Legacy Low Key says, Honorable Abejide has won election to the House of Reps on the platform of the ADC twice. He has been their national leader because he occupies the highest elective position from the party. Suddenly, displaced politicians from other parties expelled him. He should sit down and look. That's from X. Also, now back to Instagram, Binosi says, Lord, laughing out loud. And the poor masses are clapping, forgetting that politicians will always live comfortably, well, whether now Obi or Atiku or even Tinubu, but you will be the one on the receiving end of bad governance. So those are your thoughts right there. In another story, speaking on Monday's edition of Focus Nigeria on Africa Independent Television, AIT, the President's Special Advisor on Media and Public Communication, Sunday Dare, has cast doubt on the leadership credibility of Peter Obi. Dare disagrees, or he argues that Obi cannot be trusted to govern Nigeria, and he was pointing to what he describes as Obi's failure to resolve internal crisis within the Labour Party. And he says if he cannot handle a party, then Nigeria is too big for you.
Look at the history of Labour Party. Did Obi form Labour Party? Was he even in control of Labour Party? Obi has the tendency of just strolling into a party and strolling out. When the crisis of Labour started, almost 2.5 years back, we witnessed it. Did Obi even play a central role? We saw it play out in open. We had no... The APC
and what he said was that
had no
the
hand
government was behind it.
And rather than fix his party, he jumped ship and moved to another party. Is that the person you want to entrust the fate of 230 million people to? You cannot fix a party. ADC was hijacked.
All right, let's see what you make of this from our Facebook first handles, and then we go to X2 at AIT_online. The Ledger Jerry says, when they lack answers to questions, they end up calling Obi. For Joseph, he says, you are on point, and it's the reality. You can't fix small things, and you want us to entrust you with bigger responsibilities. And then more reactions to the stories and the trends on the space of social media right now. English, he says, is not his father's language, and he doesn't need it to lead. Well, that's Nafiu Bala speaking exclusively to AIT and firing back at critics. He's accusing the likes of ADC's 2023 presidential candidate, Dumebi Kachuku, of using their command of English to derail the party. He also claims he was tricked into attending what turned out to be a controversial handover ceremony, and is insisting that former chairman Ralph Uwosu had told him it was merely for the adoption of new members. Let's see that exclusive sit-out with AIT. That video is just right there after reactions to the one that we just had, and Funke was the one who had the sit-out with him, and the videos have gone viral on the space of social media. Just after these reactions, the video, very well, there you go.
You were at the hall, inside the hall, when David Mark was, when Ralph Uwosu was handing over the party to Senator David Mark.
Ranar da suka zo su on the day that coalition people suka zo su za su gaya duniya cewa sun adopting ADC for the first day da suka zo za su adopting ADC as a party da suka introducing cewa is a platform da za su zo su supporting. On the same day, Uwosu is announcing his resignation. Kuma at the same day, he is appointing the Big Mac Orebisola and all other ESCO. I am not aware of a ranar zamu je mu wurin mu kalli wannan abu.
Speaking of English is the main problem. So how will you bridge this gap?
Saboda Dumebi Kachuku ya zo daga can Turai ya fita yawon bariki ya dawo ya zo zai destroying ɗinta. Ni na jagoranta, ina da experience, kuma duk inda na je na kan communicating da waɗanda na je ni kuma su fahimce ni mu yi, to wannan ba wani abu bane.
All right, let's take reactions from our social media platforms. On Facebook, we start. Angela Nkechi says, he was there and he wrote the letter, but because the handover was done in English, he did not understand what they were doing. He got home and they explained it to him in Hausa. That was when he raised an alarm. Okay, Angela. Uche says, no wonder he said he didn't know what was going on in the hall on the day of handing over to new executives, and not knowing that their old committee has been dissolved and has no more his former position because he is Another thought also to this. Facebook, Angela again has said this, and then we'll move on to more reactions too from still the comment section. If we could leave Angela, we just had Angela. Hala says, why is he responding in Hausa? I thought English was Nigeria's official language. I didn't know AIT Hausa existed. Yeah, well, you know, from one thing you discover another. Kano Blog says, I don't understand why people are concerned with the language Nafiu Bala speaks. In my opinion, everyone should speak the language they are comfortable with, and there is no reason to insist that someone should learn other people's languages. This is one of the things we have been striving for. As secondary school students, we want the Kano government to remove the requirement imposed on our teachers that they must teach us in English. But responding to Kano Blog is David, who says, since you know that, let your politics stay within the range of your father's language, because if you want to be a party chairman for a political party in Nigeria, you should be able to communicate with English because of those in other regions. So those are your thoughts right there, all happening in our comment sections on X and on Facebook. So our final story for today, maybe a disturbing incident, you want to call it, has been reported during the Orevware Cultural Festival in Delta State, where a masquerade was seen attacking a woman in what eyewitnesses describe as a chaotic scene. The video now circulating online shows the masquerade flogging a woman for being outside while the cultural exercise lasted.
Big Juju. Big Juju. Big Juju.
All right, let's see what you make of this video. MOE says, Delta State again, from raping women to flogging them in the name of festivals, totally condemnable. Another reaction, Kel says, except this girl doesn't have brothers. I want to assume she doesn't have, because if not my friend she'd be, not even my sister or friend, but he go tell that masquerade that day. All right, let's see. If you're on X or even social media, you will know Dr. Bola Abiodun, this is his style. It says not victim blaming, but she did this to herself. All women were informed to stay home due to the festival, and she disobeyed, and she's been flogged now. The festival is as old as our ancestors in Delta, and rules won't be bent for anyone. Condolences to her. All right. In response to Dr. Abiodun, this user, Etare Dafe, says, Dr. Abiodun, if you ever wonder why countries like Nigeria is regarded as a third world country, read your tweet again. You just justified a barbaric practice on the ground that it is older than ancestors who are clearly ignorant, if not stupid. In northern Nigeria, people are being killed for something as frivolous as blasphemy. In southern Nigeria, Dr. Abiodun thinks it is okay for people to be physically assaulted because they refuse to listen to the instructions of barbaric people who think by men saying it is a tradition, it excuses their barbarism. Shame on you and your doctorate. Well, we cannot say if that doctorate is PhD or is Babalawo, as people say on the space of social media. But yeah, those are the stories right there, dominated by politics, because that's what's going on the space of social media right now. Thank you so much for being a part of Kakaaki Social this morning. We are AIT_online, and I am Rena OBO everywhere on social media. I'll see you again tomorrow.
My baba, they always say, for market, every day get your own wahala. Sometimes people go on scam you. But Baba say, no be by gra. You must cool down, dey sharp. Because with OPay payment, your money go enter sharp, no story. But inside market, anything fit happen. One day, we no see phone again. My baba remember OPay USSD lock, dial *955*131#. Baba press lock account. from market woman to driver, from small boy to big man. Now, OPay, they protect people like us. My papa fit sell, press phone, collect POS, and still they teach me price. And when they don't tire, go just tap OPay night guard. We no fear for this our hustle life. Now, OPay be the people payment shield.
Kakaaki, now available in crayfish. Kakaaki, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says...
But who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights. From Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. live on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel at AIT Live. My name is Adora Sidney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda. Gender Agenda. Women rising.
The issues as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy. And our governments seem to be incapable of protecting.
The scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe in godfatherism in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
For over 2 decades, successive assemblies have tried to patch a document many critics dismiss as a military-era relic. The demand for a people's constitution has been a constant refrain since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999. Critics argue that the current document lacks the soul of the people, born of a military decree rather than a national consensus. While previous assemblies have managed minor tweaks, many Nigerians believe the big issue remains untouched. On Tuesday, the 10th National Assembly picks up the baton, but the atmosphere is different. Pressure is mounting as the next general elections creeps onto the horizon. Lawmakers are increasingly splitting their focus between legislative duty and political survival. The big question is whether the parliament, of whose members are in the campaign mode, can tackle the complex task of nation building.
The INEC has forced itself into administrating this country by bringing forth a party primary election that will take place 9 months to the general election. This is a third world country, for goodness sake. Once you have primary election, after the primary election, total governance abandonment. People abandon everything. This National Assembly will become like a grave. Now you have a total of 9 months.
Wow, a lot of time.
A lot of times. Who will stay in this National Assembly? To do what?
Top of the list is the push for state creation, specifically from the southeast. Stakeholders there argue that being the only zone with 5 states is a structural injustice that hurts their representation and share of national resources. For them, a 6th state isn't just politics, but is about equity.
We from the southeast, we're not asking for additional states. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking for equality of a state. Other zones in the country have 60 states, Northwest have 7. We're saying, give us the 6th state.
There are structural fault line headlined by fiscal federalism and state police aimed at improving governance, guarantee fiscal autonomy, and strengthening grassroots security. Another major sticking point is justice reforms and women's special seat bill. These include the proposal to separate the office of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice to insulate the law from politics and provision of extra parliamentary representation for women.
I think actually those bills are still coming up. They are not they are still being put together too. And this time actually we are getting to talk to our men across board right from the House of Representatives to the Senate. And to ensure that when it does come up, we can have legislate some quota for women, as is done in some other countries like Rwanda and Senegal. They've done it successfully.
But the road to reform is paved with hurdles. Any amendment requires a 2/3 majority in the National Assembly, and most difficult of all is the approval of at least 24 state houses of assembly. It is a game of high stakes, consensus in a deeply divided political landscape. Now, as the both chambers of the National Assembly gets filled again for legislative activities, expectations are clear. The members of the public, the civil society organizations are urging lawmakers to prioritize legacy over politics. Oyeda Orum, AIT News, Abuja.
The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
The law. National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
So people put people in poverty deliberate misplacement of priorities and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of the former president, what I know is that he has not turned his membership card. He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal.
There's no shying away from the issues.
The system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
Welcome back.
Get into that.
Welcome back to Kakaaki, the African Voice. And our next conversation is going to take us on the Senate as they resume. I'm going to give Adora the opportunity to introduce our very special guest on the show this morning.
I'm not opportune. I'm just here to do it with you. You just pass the ball to me to do it. All right, thank you so much, viewers. Thank you for staying with us. And like we told you earlier, we'll be talking about the National Assembly resumption, what's on their table and what Nigerians expect. And we're here to have this conversation, do justice to it, with our in-house political historian, analyst, veteran journalist, Bayo Bordering, who is right here in the studio. It's great to have you, sir. Good morning.
Thank you. All right, let's get into it. When we are talking about the Senate now, they have resumed plenary and they went on a break. You know, we're looking at everything that will be happening very soon. What do you make of it? What's the first thing that the Senate should get down to as it is?
Well, there's one missing thing in our legislative activity that's bothered me.
Okay.
Towards the tail end of the Second Republic, I covered the National Assembly at Tafawa Balewa Square, where the National Assembly was sitting then. And at the beginning of this Fourth Republic, in its first 5 years, I was a correspondent at the National Assembly. And when either the House or the Senate proceeded on leave then, and they are coming back, there is this sensitization that even as reporters, we used to have. And so we have informed opinion of telling our viewers if you are a television reporter or listener if you are a radio reporter, or the readers of various newspapers and news magazines, because there will be a statement. We are resuming. We are focusing on this when we resume. It's missing. And it's a source of worry for me. And what this points to is as if the National Assembly of today, they don't have an agenda. Because if they have an agenda, they should be talking about it. They should be reaching out to their constituents. They should be reaching out to the Nigerian population through journalists who are National Assembly correspondents. We don't have it. So for instance, we will not be involved in guesswork when they resume. What will they do? But having said that, there are a lot of unfinished jobs in the National Assembly. Are we going to witness a situation where we have expended billions of naira in the name of constitutional amendment, and it will not yield any fruit? There are so many proposals in the last 3 years plus. Public hearings were held. Civil society bodies devoted themselves to the core duty of ensuring that we have meaningful constitutional amendment, particularly on those issues that affect us as a nation. Are we going to witness a situation where we are now going to devote our time, energy, and resources to electioneering, and then we will not achieve anything from that process? It's a source of worry for me. And I think if the National Assembly think of the Nigerian nation, think of the Nigerian people, these are things they should be able to handle speedily when they resume now, before they mount the soapboxes in different parts of the country seeking for votes. It must not be a wasted effort. You have the issue of addressing women representation. You have the issue of, which we have talked about endlessly, state police. It remains, all these things must not be reduced to a matter of impassioned oratory, that nothing will be achieved. They must prioritize some of these activities and ensure that the nation derive benefit from all the expenditure they have. The nation has, I mean, the national resources they have spent on it, in ensuring that at least we could see something meaningful. We have seen the horrid nature, some of them surreptitious, some of them secretly passed electoral act that do not meet the needs and aspirations of Nigeria of today. I want to say that. But that one cannot be, we can't reopen that one now because the clock is ticking towards election dates. We can't be. But the issue of constitutional amendment is an issue that I think they cannot afford to sweep under the carpet and expect that by the time we have the 10th Assembly, that will also be another priority. Because if you look at it since 1999, the issue of constitutional amendment seems to have been like a ritual, achieving little out of the huge amount of money being spent, out of the wasted effort and the wasted time. Little, very little, very little. There are so many things in our constitution that we feel we need to reform. So constitutional reform is an issue that must be a top priority for the lawmakers when they resume.
All right, I hear you, and I hear the layered demand and the call to action. But they also say that it is those who are alive that have a country, and those who are alive can participate in pushing for the demands of what their country desires. And I'm saying this because if you look at the headline stories of this morning's newspapers, it was awash with several deaths, several headlines.
It's every day.
Kwara State, Benue, Jos, and you know, Nigerians are saying perhaps maybe when this resumption is truly brought to the fore, the first conversation is to look at the heightening insecurity and the loss of life. We saw the JAM students who were rescued saying that the bandits were beating them up with cutlasses. They even had to buy them, you know, drinks. But what can the National Assembly do? Because again, the ball and the bulk of this conversation stops on their table.
You know, that's why I raised the issue of state police. It's one issue. Everybody seems to be having the impression, and I do have it too. I do have that strong impression that every layer of government, every level of government, including the local government, have a role to play on this issue of security. So, if we have the state police, for instance, instead of the state governments buying vehicles for the federal police, they will devote their attention in equipping, in training, in buying facilities, tools of work for the state police. And that layer of policing, we will start feeling the impact. The fact remains that the number of policemen we have today cannot serve a population of 220 million people. It can't. It can't. As a young man growing up in Kano, I still remember vividly on our streets in Samungeri, where I grew up, Samungeri area of Kano. I still remember the native policemen who paraded our streets in those days, in their short knicker, with their buttons swinging and moving on the streets. And you see their presence, and at the slightest occurrence of a crime, you see their presence. And they're everywhere. That is native authority. Native authority is equivalent of local government today. So even if at our beginning, we have our lowest layer of government, then having its own police. So what is stopping us? Since we cannot have enough men and women from the Nigerian police everywhere, what is stopping us?
Is it lack of numbers, Bayo? Is it lack of numbers or misapplication? Because we have over 370-something thousand, and only 200 are participating actively, when the others are session to VIPs.
Numbers matter, and I will tell you why it matters. It matters because we have too many ungoverned spaces in Nigeria. You travel along the highways, you see policemen, you see soldiers. When you move off the highway and you are going to the villages, you hardly see anybody. And when you enter the villages, majority of us are from villages. We are not from cities, for God's sake. So what you are seeing is a situation where the cities, you see presence of security men in the cities. You see presence of security men in the semi-cities. What of the villages, the ungoverned spaces? Where are the men that are there? That's exactly what I'm pointing out. By the time you move by the time you enter a state, you probably pass through the state capital. You probably pass through one or two local governments. Then you move to the hamlets, to the villages. You hardly see anybody. These people, the only means of protecting them is faith. They resort to prayer. God, keep us alive. That should not be the case. No. We must feel the presence of security in every nooks and crannies of this country.
Yeah, just to add to what Adora said, apart from increasing the numbers, how do we also make sure that these individuals we want to put in the police are of not questionable characters? We've seen on videos where these guys don't focus on their core duties. They are there policing people's wares, what they're putting on, what they are wearing on their heads. We see them also, in a way, terrorizing some of the people they should be protecting. So how do we also protect Nigerians as well from making sure that these people do not go rogue at the end of the day? Because there will be questions about the quality of the individuals who've been put in.
What system were we using in the past? What system were we using in the past, in the First Republic? What system were we using in the Second Republic in recruiting these policemen in such a way they earn the respect and admiration of the citizens? What system? Has those systems been buried, that we can no longer resurrect them and use them to ensure that those who have been recruited, either into the armed forces or into the police, their credibility and integrity is not in doubt? So have we resorted to a situation, as some people allege, that if you have heavy pockets, and you can dole out, you can be recruited into any agency of government, you can be recruited into anywhere you want to be. Is that a system we should encourage? There must be a thorough screening process that will ensure that those that we recruit into our armed forces, those who recruit into the police, those who recruit into the prison, those who recruit into immigration, those who recruit into NDLEA, those who recruit into the customs, are credible people, people who will love the country and will serve and ensure that the interest of the country and the interest of Nigerians at large are not compromised. These are the men and women we should be looking for. And they are not in short supply if we do the needful.
All right.
If we're talking about credibility of police officers in Nigeria, we should also be talking about the accountability for their welfare. So many weeks we've seen veteran police officers who served this nation protesting in front of the headquarters, demanding for their welfare, demanding that the work that they have done be earned. They talked about the poor contributory pension scheme that did not benefit them. They also talked about the fact that their pays and wages are unjust and unfair. Now, if you're having that kind of demeanor from police officers who serve the nation, what motivation does the ones who are serving now have? Because when I hear, patriotism, I hear integrity, I'm also thinking, what of accountability to welfare?
I think these are issues that must be downplayed.
Okay.
When we are thinking of reviewing and reforming our security architecture, these are issues that must be downplayed. I usually feel sad when I travel on Nigerian Airways, and you see an average, you see the junior ones who are on the road, holding gun and all the rest, ensuring our safety. We are here because of you. We are even testy, Although there are some of them who are visual about, who have become part of them, but they are really speaking from their heart. I witnessed an incident one day, and I parked my vehicle, and I was watching, maybe because I'm a reporter. 2 policemen stopped a woman. In fairness, the woman did not commit any offense, but they accused her of driving recklessly, of beating traffic light, of a lot of things were said about her. She was denying all of them. At the end of the day, one of them said, "Okay, let us stop this issue. Don't let us drag it too much. Just say to us, let us go." The woman looked at them and said, "If I give you money now, will you have courage to tell your wife at home, because I know you are married, and say you collected money from somebody's wife for you to feed at home, to feed her at home and your children? Will you be happy?" And I think suddenly they realized the import of what that woman said. The second one said, "Madam, I beg, carry your wahala go." So you can imagine that kind of statement. That what am I trying to drive out of it is that I intervene at the end of the day.
Okay.
And I ask that they should not be harassing people who do not commit any offense on the road, particularly a woman and all the rest. The matter was settled and they allowed the woman to go. They also thanked me for my intervention. The issue is that the woman raised a critical issue. Must an average policeman be on the road looking for a victim, whether a man or a woman, thinking of what they can probably get from him or her? And then, if it's reduced to what the other woman said, as a means of survival, must that be the case? It shouldn't be. If our lawmakers earn salary and they earn decent allowances, then they should think of those who are protecting them. They should think of it. They should think seriously about them. And they can only think seriously about them when they think about their welfare, when they think about their training, when they think about the tools they need in order for them to be effective and efficient. Okay. They should think about it. Our state governors have huge security votes. I'm sure when we have state police, I do hope the bulk of this huge security vote will be set aside as part of the money to address the welfare issue of the policemen that will be recruited by each state government.
Okay. Away from the state police, another key issue is the Electoral Act Amendment Law, which was passed. But a lot of Nigerians are still not satisfied about that act. Should the Senate revisit it at this point in time?
That's exactly what I said. I said, I pointed out at the beginning of my submission that it's a pity that time is no longer our friend in terms of the Electoral Act. It was hurriedly passed, but it's supposed not to be because the lawmakers have enough time to do their job. They delay it to the last minute, and what they gave Nigerians is extremely short of expectation. There are a lot of things that is supposed to address that are not addressed. For me, for instance, for somebody who has spent the greater part of my life covering politics in the course of my career, I do not support a situation where the governors will unpick the members of the state independent electoral, the SECs, which conduct local government in various states. I do not support a situation, too, where Mr. President will be saddled with responsibility of picking resident electoral commissioner, national commissioner, and even the chairman of INEC.
So what do you recommend?
There are good examples to copy elsewhere that we should be able to copy. We have the good example in South Africa. We have the good example in our neighboring Ghana. How palatable, how can you applaud a situation where 3IC, Football Club of Ibadan, is Maintain Rangers International of Enugu. And Rangers, with vested interest in the football match, will be the one that will pick the referee. That's exactly what we are witnessing today. Our governors and Mr. President have deep partisan interest. So they should not be saddled with responsibility. If the military did it in 1999, it doesn't mean we have to continue. We must not see it as a situation. The military can justify it that they have less partisan interest at that stage. I think after the first election in 1999, from that period to today, nobody with partisan interest should be saddled with the responsibility of appointing members of the electoral umpire. You cannot, there is no how detached you can be from expressing your interest in decisions you take on partisan issues. I challenge anybody anywhere in the world to prove me wrong. So, if you look at Justice Owe's report, may so rest in peace, it was clear that suggestion was made that they suggested bodies that can be saddled with that responsibility. But unfortunately for us as a nation, nobody wants to implement that aspect of Owe's recommendation that let there be an independent body. For example, in South Africa, they advertise chairmen of electoral commissions. They take applications, they screen them, and they pick the best among them. I cover an election in Ghana, for instance. The chairperson, a lady, the chairperson of the electoral body in Ghana, wanted to do what she called, she wanted to compare multiple sources to determine the genuineness of the result they have complied. She disappeared for 4 days. And that gave her, because she's not aligned to anybody. Everybody was looking for, even we journalists were looking for her. We don't know where she went to. But she came out 4 days after and gave her own election result. After announcing the result, she also gave similar result compiled by non-partisan civil society bodies, which she has compared her result with. And she said, I stand by this election. And nobody could dispute it. There was no court case over that election. That is the situation I want in Nigeria. Not is a situation where people with partisan credentials are being picked as resident electoral commissioners, are being picked as national commissioners, and are even chairmen of the commission. So that we cannot beat our chest that we have truly free umpires. That is what we should work towards. It's unfortunate that our lawmakers did not count that one as a priority. They put it aside. I do hope future lawmakers will think seriously about this as an assignment they should be inaugurated after the election.
And political historian. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, the National Assembly, the ball is in the court. Let's see how you make stay of what Nigerians have demanded. Look at the electoral reform, special seats for women, state police, and the plethora of the bills in front of you. My name is Adora Sidney Jack. Thank you for joining us.
I am Chukwuyemi Onwuka. Bye for now.